Now listen here. Today we will begin the chapter 7, friction. So you have observed that when a ball is rolling on a plane surface, then after moving some distance, it comes to rest. Why it is so? Because Newton's laws of motion are saying that if no force is acting, then body should maintain the same state. Means if it was at rest, it will remain at rest, and if it is moving with certain velocity, then it will keep on moving with the same velocity. When you have rolled a ball once on a surface, then during the rolling, when you have rolled it on one surface, then during the rolling, no other force is acting. No other force is acting upon it. External force is not acting. So it should keep on moving indefinitely. But we find that after moving some distance, it comes to rest. Suppose you have rolled a ball, a cricket ball, a football on the this leveled ground. So once you have rolled, then according to the Newton's laws of motion, it should keep on moving with the same velocity in the same direction. But we observe that after moving some distance, it come to rest. It means this thing is suggesting that some force is acting on the ball opposite to the direction of motion. Some force is acting on the ball opposite to the direction of motion, which brings the ball into the state of rest. Now see here, if you find that, you will find that no other thing is in its contact other than the this surface. No other thing is in its contact other than this surface. So that retarding force must be exerted by the surface on this ball in what direction? Opposite to the direction of motion. Opposite to the direction of motion. It's clear. And this force we name as the force of friction. Force of friction. Now see here. Once again, all of you see here. Here, this ball has been rolled over this leveled ground with a certain velocity. After rolling, it should maintain its velocity because the Newton's law of motion are saying in the absence of the force, body will retain its state of rest or of uniform motion. In the absence of force, if the body is at rest, it will remain at rest. If it is moving with a certain velocity, it will keep on moving with the same velocity. But actually, what do you notice? We notice that the ball come to rest after moving some distance. So this observation suggests that some retarding force is acting on the body opposite to the direction of motion. Now see here, what will be the agent which is exerting this retarding force to it? So it will be that body which is in just in contact of this. So you can see here there is no other body in contact of this ball except the ground. Except the ground, no other body is in its contact. Therefore, this retarding force must be exerted by the ground on the body. In what direction? Opposite to the direction of motion. This retarding force we call as the force of friction. This retarding force we call as the force of friction. Now see here, what is the cause of force of friction? And this type of observation you can notice in many other situations. So what is the cause of force of friction? Force of friction. So there are two theories. One is the old theory, which is the classical theory, and according to classical theory, and this classical theory we don't accept. Now in the modern concept, this classical theory is not being accepted. Now see here, what is the classical theory? According to it, force of friction between two bodies produces because of interlocking of irregularities of contact surface. This force of friction is produced because of the interlocking of irregularities of contact surface. What is the meaning of irregularities? Now see here, suppose this surface is very much smooth. There are no ups and downs. There are no ups and downs. But if you see its microscopic view of any surface, microscopic view of the surface, we will find that there are some ups and downs on every surface. Suppose this is a surface, and when we see its microscopic view, then it will not be perfectly smooth. Okay. Macroscopic view, if we talk macroscopically, then we can say that macroscopically it is smooth. But when we take the observation microscopically, there is the difference in between both the words. You can see here MACRO and this is MICRO. If we see microscopically, then it is not smooth. It is not smooth. Having ups and downs. Ups and downs, which we also call projections and depressions. Projections and depressions. Now in this diagram, what are the projections? This is projection. This is projection. This is projection. Depression. This is the depression. This is the depression. Here, this is the depression. It's clear. So this is one surface, and there is another surface which is in its contact. I am showing some separation between them. You can see here. So this is the surface 2 and this is the surface 1. Here you can see this is the surface 1. When these two bodies will come in contact, what will happen? According to the classical rule, what will happen? Its depression will come in contact of its projection. Here its projection will come in contact of its depression. It's clear? Its projection will come in contact of its depression. Means projection of one surface will come in contact of the depression of the other surface. Means they will be interlocked like this. You can see here. They will be interlocked like this. It's clear? It will not be like that projection will be over the projection. At some situations, what will happen? these projection of one surface will come in contact of the depression of the other. It's clear like this. Means up of one surface will come in contact of the down of the other. And when it will be like this, I will show you here. Here. This one surface and this is the another surface I will make. This type of contact we will say that irregularities has interlocked. Irregularities has interlocked. Irregularities has interlocked. And when irregularities has interlocked, what will happen? Motion will become retardative. Motion will become retardative. It is clear? And after some time body will come to rest. We have to apply an external force to dislodge these interlocking. We have to apply some external force to dislodge these interlocking. It's clear? External force will be required. Will be required. For dislocking, interlocking, dislocking to interlock. Means in order to break the interlocking, we have to apply some external force. It's clear? So this produces the force of friction. So according to the classical view, force of friction produces because of the interlocking of the irregularities at the contact surface. When these irregularities are interlocked like this, then motion becomes retardative and the body will become slow down. Body will become slow down. External force will be required for dislocking for breaking to this interlocking. In order to break this interlocking, some external force will be required. Now see here, if we assume this classical view, if we assume that this classical view is correct, then you can see here, I am taking two examples. One in which the contact surface is not very large. One in which the contact surface is not very large. This is first body and this is the second body. Now see here, this is the second body. Now I have taken the similar material body, but bigger in size. Bigger in size means their size is bigger. And when size will be bigger, area of the contact surface will be larger. Area of contact surface will be larger. So in which case force of friction will be more? In first case, force of friction will be more, or in the second? So you can see here surface area is less. Surface area, contact surface area is smaller. Therefore, interlockings will be less. While here interlockings will be more. Means a smaller external force will be required to break the interlocking here. While here a greater external force will be required to break the interlocking, because interlockings are over the wider area, over the larger area. Means we can say in this case force of friction which more. Means we can say force of friction is directly proportional to area of contact. Area of contact. It's clear. If we accept the classical view of friction, then according to the classical view of friction, force of friction is directly proportional to the area of contact. It's clear. And when it is directly proportional to the area of contact, so it should be directly proportional to area of contact. But experimentally, it has been found, experimentally, it was found that force of friction do not depend on area of contact. Force of friction do not depend on the area of contact. Means this thing is not correct, which we have deduced from the classical theory. Which we have deduced from the classical theory, that observation is not correct. Correct thing is, which we have found from the experiments, that the force of friction do not depend on the area of contact. Now see here one more thing which do not support to the classical view of friction. Do not support to the classical theory on the friction. See here, here we have said that the friction is because of the interlocking. Friction is because of interlocking of irregularities. Friction is because of the interlocking. According to the classical view, friction is because of the interlocking of irregularities. And what are irregularities? That I have already told. It's clear. So if we take a perfectly smooth surface means there is no irregularities. Its microscopic view is like this. Microscopic view is like this. And there is another surface. This is the other surface and this is the first surface. If we see here these two surfaces, in which their contact surfaces are not having any irregularities. Here contact surface do not have any irregularity. You can see here. So there should be no friction, but it was found that in the perfectly smooth surfaces, experimentally it is found, experimentally, according to the classical view, there should be no friction because no irregularities. Therefore, there will be no interlocking and no interlocking. Therefore, friction should be zero. There should be no friction. It's clear. But experimentally, it was found that friction in between perfectly smooth surfaces, perfectly smooth surfaces is very great. Very great means huge. There is huge frictional force. Frictional force. While the classical theory suggests that there is no friction in between the perfectly smooth surfaces. It's clear. Therefore, both these observations do not support to the classical view. They do not support to the classical view on the friction. Now there is a modern theory, and according to the modern theory, this force of friction is an electromagnetic force. What is force of friction? Force of friction is an electromagnetic force. Electromagnetic. E means electro, M means magnetic force between the particles situated on contact surface. Now see here, first I will explain what do you mean by electromagnetic force. Suppose this is the atom of one material. This is the nucleus. Nucleus is positively charged, and there will be some cells. Here I have taken only two cells for simplicity. I have taken only two cells. These are the electrons. It's clear. This is one atom of one surface, and there is another atom of the other surface. I am making another atom of the other surface. Then now see here, what will be the electric force here? What will be the electric force? So you can see here, electric force. Electric force means force between two charges. Force between two charges, which we also say as Coulombian force. Coulombian force. Now suppose there are two charges Q1 and Q2 situated at a distance R, then this force will be proportional to this Q1 Q2 upon R square. Q1 Q2 upon R square. Here these are the charged particles. This nucleus is also a tiny charged body. Nucleus is also a tiny charged body. Why do we say tiny charged body? Because the size of nucleus is very small. What is the size of the nucleus? Nucleus is having the size of 10 to the power minus 14 meter. That must be you know it. Nucleus is having this size, while the atom is having what size? 10 to the power minus 10 meter. It's clear. Means atom is 10,000 times bigger in size as compared to nucleus. So see here, there will be an electric force between what and what? Between the nucleus of this atom and nucleus of this atom. Nucleus of this atom. There will be a electric force between nucleus. Nucleus of this and nucleus of this. Then there is an electric force between nucleus of this and electron of this. It's clear? Electron. Then there will be a electric force between electron of this atom and nucleus of this. That is electron and nucleus. And then in between electron and electron. In between electron and electron. These are the four electric forces. Now, what are the magnetic forces? So see here, moving charges produce magnetic field. Electrons are in motion, therefore producing magnetic field. Electrons are in motion, therefore will produce magnetic field. That you will study in class 12 will produce magnetic field. It's clear. And there is a Lorentz force. Lorentz force. A charge moving in external magnetic field. Charge moving in external magnetic field. Magnetic field experiences force. Now see here, why do we say external magnetic field? Because when a charge will move, it will produce its own magnetic field also, but not in its own, because force is not acting because of its own magnetic field. Force is acting because of the external magnetic field. You can see here, when this electron is moving, it will produce the magnetic field. This magnetic field will be spread in this. In that region, this electron is moving, this other electron of this atom is moving. This magnetic field is produced by this electron, in which the electron of other atom is moving. And when it will move, what will happen? It will experience a magnetic force because of this magnetic field which has been produced due to this electron. It's clear? You can see here, when electron is in motion, this electron is moving, it will produce the magnetic field. In that magnetic field, this electron of the other atom is moving, because this is also moving, this is also revolving around the nucleus. Therefore, it will experience a magnetic force. Same thing will be true for other electrons also. It is clear? So this force of friction, it is an electromagnetic force between the particles situated on contact surface. It is clear? And when interlocking will become, when interlocking will be like this, then the atoms will become very close to each other. Atoms will become very close to each other. This atom and here this atom, they will become very close to each other, and therefore force will become very much stronger. You can see here, force is inversely proportional to r square. Lesser the distance, force will be more. Same thing will be true for the magnetic force also. It's clear? Smaller the distance, stronger will be the force. It's clear? So when there will be the interlocking, what will happen? The atoms of both the surfaces, the atoms of both the surfaces at contact point will become very close to each other. And when they will become very close to each other, a stronger electromagnetic force acts. A stronger electromagnetic force acts. And this stronger electromagnetic force is the source of friction. It is the source of friction. It's clear? Now see here, you can see once again, when irregularities will come in contact, when irregularity reach ups and downs of both the surfaces will come in contact, then what will happen? These atoms are at the contact surfaces will become more closer. When they will become more closer, what will happen? Force, electromagnetic force will become more stronger. And when it will become more stronger, a greater pressure acts here. A greater pressure acts here. At the contact surface, a greater pressure will act. It's clear? And when a greater pressure will act, so motion will become retarded. It's clear? So now see here. Here you can see, if the area of contact is more, then force will be what? Net force will be here, force will be less, and here force will be more. But here area is also smaller, and here area is also more. Therefore, when you will see F upon A, that will remain same in both the cases. F upon A means the contact pressure will remain same in both the cases. Both are different in sizes of area. Here area is less, therefore force is also less. Here area is more, therefore force is also more. And why it is more? Because now there are more points which are in tight contact. more points which are in very close contact. Therefore, force will increase, but F upon A, that is the pressure will remain unchanged. This pressure we call as the adhesive force. Adhesive force. Adhesive pressure. Adhesive pressure. Now, what is the meaning of adhesive and what is the meaning of cohesive? That you know, adhesive means the force between the particles of different atoms. Adhesive force between particles of different bodies, while cohesive force between particles of same bodies. We can say that intermolecular force is a cohesive force. Intermolecular force is a cohesive force. But here this is the atom of one body, body 1. This is the atom of body 2. The force which exists in between them, that will be the adhesive force. And this adhesive force will produce the adhesive pressure. And this pressure do not depend upon the area. Therefore, friction remain constant. Friction remain constant. Now see here, when you make the surface perfectly smooth like this, so here the contact points will be very much as compared to here contact points will become very much close contact points will become very much as compared to this case, as compared to this case. And when contact point will be very much as compared to this case, so what will happen? Force will be increased greatly. And when force will increase greatly, then friction F upon A, because area is same. Area is same. So friction will also increase greatly. So friction between the perfectly smooth surface is very huge. It's clear? So this modern theory supporting to the both the